Hello, this is Katrina Freisen. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Study the Word with me. Okay, so as we're getting to the Bible reading, I want to kind of break down the books of the Bible. There are 66 books of the Bible, as we know it, but I want to break them down just a little bit and kind of categorize them so that you may be looking for a specific something and need to know where to go specifically to find it. So I just want to categorize them generally so that you have an idea. If you've never read the Bible, especially if you've never read the Bible and this is your first time reading it, to give you kind of a better understanding how they kind of are grouped together. So, for instance, first five books of the Bible, the fancy word for it is the Pentateuch, right? Also is referred to as the Torah. But Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. These are the law books. They're widely referenced as the law books. And basically it is the beginning of time, the beginning of creation, right? But also as God has created people and he's preserving people, he gives them rules. He gives them, this is how I want you to live. This is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to do it. I always tell people, if you are a new Christian or you're someone who really needs to understand what does God expect of me, the law books are the place to go. And out of those books, I mean, they lay the foundation for the whole thing, like for all of it, right? For all of life. They lay the foundation of what God intended, God intended for mankind, what God intended for his people. That's the other thing. If you are someone who has ever asked the question, why is God so bent on, the Jews, why are they the chosen people? Like all the stuff, those kinds of things can be found in the law books. Now, if you go from the book of Joshua all the way to Esther, and then I'll stop. I'll start there. Those are history books, history of God's people, and what. Now that they're more established, I want to read something to you. Let's see. Let's see. Important details of Middle East history before Jesus was born. Now, if you tack on the book of Acts, that's also a history book because the book of Acts talks about the history of the church. You know what I mean? Like what we know as the church. So the disciple, Jesus training the disciples in the Gospels and leaving, bringing the Comforter, empowering them, sending them out to plant churches, all the things. If you're a church planner, certainly the Book of Acts is a place you want to spend your time. So history, if you want to know history, if you're interested in history at all, those are good books to read in understanding and knowing the movements of God in that time. Now, poetry. If you're someone who loves poetry, Job, Psalms, Song of Solomon, Ecclesiastes are the books that you want to read. Written by King David, Solomon, his son as well. So those are good. Now, I talked earlier in another episode, the wisdom book, Proverbs. If you need wisdom in anything, which we all do, Proverbs is that book. Now, another book that can be considered a wisdom book is James. Now, I'll say this. James is meaty. James will thump you in the head. It will punch you in the gut. But nonetheless, wisdom it's a great book for wisdom. Okay, so then there are the prophets. Everybody from Isaiah all the way to Malachi, all those books in between. Those are the prophets. And God, basically, especially if you're new to the Bible, um, these are men who God gave prophetic insight into the future and whom he typically sent to a group of people to warn them that if you don't get your act together, if you don't do what I asked you to do, there's judgment coming. So he sent those men to a people group to deliver. I'm just generalizing the message. There were more specifics to it, of course, but basically, that's what they said. And so, you get to really see what their lives were like, what they had to endure, what the state of the people were, and their response, and all of that. So those are the prophets. Now, so Genesis to Malachi make up the Old Testament. Now, the New Testament starts out with the Gospels. That's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This talks about, of course, Jesus being born, Jesus's ministry in the earth, and his training of the disciples is all spelled out in these books. Now, one thing you must know, especially if you've never read the Bible before, is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they overlap one another, meaning each of these men had the same experience, but the book is written based on their perspective. So it's like one story being told 4 ways, if I can say it that way. But it's amazing to see what the perspective of how they reported what they saw and how the story went. Now the epistles, that is from Romans all the way to Jude. An epistle basically is a letter. So as God's disciples were roaming the earth, or moving about the earth and planting churches and training people and all of that, they wrote letters to those people to say, hey, and if you know anything about church planting, there's, you can plant a church in a country and then you go to plant another church somewhere else, but you check on those people, see how they're doing and all that kind of stuff. So these letters are kind of like that. Like they sent letters to say, okay, I heard you guys are doing well here, keep doing it. Or I heard y'all messing up, I need y'all to get it together before I get over there. Like kind of. So that's what the epistles are. But the epistles, even though these were letters written from the disciples to their churches, to their members, we can learn a lot from what they said to them in being the church today. And then you have what the books that are considered end times, because which is in the Old Testament Daniel, the book of Daniel, and in the New Testament the book of Revelation. In these books, the Lord reveals his coming, the second coming of Jesus. It reveals how things wrap up in this earth. It reveals, the new Jerusalem, the new heaven, the new earth. It reveals what's to come, meaning what's like all the other things in the Bible happened back then, right? But there are still things as you and I live on the earth that have still yet to happen. And Daniel and Revelation, the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation, share what those things are, which very meaty. I recommend that you read like all the other books before you get into those. But it all ties in. It all ties in. And those are books that you got to really study. Like all the tools that I've shared with you in terms of, really having an understanding of what the word has to say. When you approach those two books, you got to really take real notes. Look up everything you can look up. Get a commentary, know what the words mean, all of that. Because in my personal study of the Bible, those are two books that I really, every time I read them, I find something new. And I feel like that about the whole Bible, honestly. But I really had to take my time in reading Daniel. And I really had to take, I used to teach school, and I was a teacher in a Christian school, and had to teach Bible. And part of the curriculum was teaching the book of Revelation to middle schoolers. So I had to really study myself to get a grasp and understanding to be able to teach it. But I discovered some fascinating things. I mean, if you even are someone who wants to know about heaven, it's one of those things, heaven is one of those things that people talk about, or they say, make statements. I hear people say a lot of stuff about heaven. I'm like, that's not what the Bible says about heaven. Okay. That's the place. Revelation is the book to go to. It describes what heaven looks like, who's there, like all this, all that. And so end time books, Daniel and Revelation, I really like. Daniel's my favorite book of all the books. That's my favorite book. But I really, there's fascinating insights in both of those books. So I hope that is helpful in terms of just, you being able to know kind of where things are, or where things are coming from when you read the Bible. And I will say this too. If you want to get like everything that I just said, and I know that's a whole lot, right? So that's why I always say take really good notes. But if you want to get a PDF of the books of the Bible broken down in that, go to KatrinaFryson.com and sign up to be on my mailing list, and I'm happy to send you a PDF. You can even, yeah, that's probably the best thing to do. Go in, sign up on the mailing list, and I'm happy to send you a copy of the PDF. So anyway, there's that. Books of the Bible. Thanks so much for spending your time with me. Thanks you so much for studying the Word with me, and I will see you next time.